Can't believe it's episode 5.
I know. Full house today as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, episode 5, let's go. Hello and welcome to Regent Business Club's podcast, 3 Women, 1 Vision. Today we have 4 women with 1 vision. We have a full house. So we have Anne with us this morning.
Hi.
And 2 guests. We're going to be talking about inclusivity in the workplace. So we have Josie and Vicky.
Yeah, so I'm Vicky. I'm a careers advisor and I work at Ashley High School, which is a school which caters for students with autism, social communication difficulties. And as part of my job, I help with the transition into college, employment, and I also help them to gain some work experience as well. So I do a lot of the coordination, basically helping young people move on after school.
Yeah. And Josie?
Yeah, so I own Ultimate HR. So we're a fully outsourced HR and employment law consultancy business. So we support businesses effectively with anything to do with people, people problems, hopefully people solutions. And we do a lot in the social values, entrepreneurship areas, so trying to help people do things a little bit differently.
Okay. So the reason we've invited you on today is we actually, as our sister company, Paramount Media, we have quite a good relationship with Ashley School. We take students for work experience and have done for a couple of years, haven't we?
We certainly have, yes.
So that was, it just tell us a little bit about how that came about. You contacted us one day. Yeah.
I did. I had a student that was desperate to do something around social media and I just wanted an employer. So I just had a look and I rang quite a few. And to be honest, I got quite a few no's. And then I came across Anne. And she said, yes, I will speak to some of the other directors and get back to you. I think what made it different in this occasion is that Anne had experience herself.
Yeah, my eldest daughter went to Ashley School. She's autistic, like she's 30 now, and it was when we was talking, and I mentioned Alex, and you recognised Alex, so Ashley was close to my heart because I've actually had a child that.
Yes, I think it made a difference, didn't it?
Yeah.
And so we met, and I just knew instantly that it was going to be a supportive placement. The questions that they asked, you were willing since then, I think we've had lots of other students, and every time I've picked up the phone and I'm possibly thinking, gosh, it might be a no this time. But it's just, no, let's have a go. Let's make it work.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing. But then from that, I think it's also developed further because it was one task that you'd set for one of our students that I'd looked at and I thought, actually, this will be brilliant because we have a year 10 creative media course.
Yeah.
So that has just grown and grown. The first year, I think it was they designed a logo and, you gave some feedback and got a winner, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then the second year, you launched it and it's just grown and grown and they absolutely love it. It's become a really important part of the year 10 creative media curriculum now.
Yeah. We absolutely love doing that. So just a bit of background. So when we took our first student, I'm from a nursing background, so I'm used to having nursing students and things like that. And we always used to put a pack together and a little bit of, projects, things that they can do while they're with us. So we did the same thing when we took our first student. I think it was Jack.
Yes.
And put like a little portfolio together, some projects for him to work through, all about marketing really. So colours in marketing, the importance of things like that. And then it had a project in it about a toy shop and like a fictional toy shop. And can you just build as a logo? Can you do some social media posts? So it went from there, didn't it? Because the school really liked that. So yes, now it's gone to we've actually give medals, certificates, presentations now, haven't we?
The class actually come into the office last year because we invited them so they could see the office environment, and that went down brilliant with them, didn't it? Yeah, so they really enjoyed. And we love the students coming in. We've met some characters and each student's different, and it's nice to see. I can't remember the student's name that we had, and we got him to make us a cup of tea. And you, Vicky, didn't think we'd get him to that point to make us a cup of tea.
That's
and
it.
we was like, we'll get him to make us a cup of tea, and he did, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's come full circle because of the student that you've got with you at the moment was the student who won your competition in year 10.
He did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's there. That says that passion is there, and he's loving every minute of it. Although I've got to say that one of his highlights, apparently, is when he's at a snack truck that
11
comes
o'clock.
round at 11 o'clock.
The sandwich.
And I think that might
Yeah.
be one of the highlights of the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's a lovely lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
He sits next to me because the desk is next to me, and we love having a little chat and just treating him like an adult. Like, if you want to go for a little walk around the building, if they need a little time out and things like that, I think that goes a long way because we don't treat him like children. We treat him equally, just like us. And that was the good thing about getting him to make a cup of tea, because we all take turns. Well, come on, matey. It's your turn.
Yeah.
And they love it. We've never had any trouble from any student, have we?
I think every student's been different, haven't they?
Yeah.
And they've some have come with some challenges, and some have been quieter than others.
Yeah.
And felt a little bit more uncomfortable in the surroundings, and then Ethan at the minute is very sociable, very chatty.
Yes.
So every student has been different. So but we do really love having them. We've even had took a student to one of our events for Regent Business Club. Took him there, which probably was a big ask, maybe because he wasn't as sociable, so it might have been a little bit uncomfortable for him. But he was fantastic and just
he handled it so well.
Really did, with
And
a lot
again,
of business
it's given
owners
him that
there.
opportunity of, this is what work can look like. This is where you can work, and meeting other people and stuff like that. So I think it's just I'm passionate about it because of my own daughter.
Yes.
And I know what obstacles I personally have come across. And you do come across a lot of people that just don't, I don't know if it's they don't know what to do, it's they don't want to give them the chance.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and I think you need to ideally come at it initially from a place of dealing with people that you're comfortable with. So I'd like to think that everybody from a business perspective knows somebody or of somebody who has some kind of additional needs or requires some kind of adjustments, and it's just opening the doors to that person initially, and then that allows you to kind of explore some of the questions or issues that you think you might have, and then you can kind of start to figure out the solutions and the possibilities.
Yeah.
Because it is all possible.
So your company, Altum, Josie, you have a really good relationship and a partnership, don't you, with Stand Up Socks?
Standout Socks, yeah. So we've, I guess, what's my why, or that's kind of the way we've come at it. So my son is visually impaired. He's registered blind, so he obviously is standing statemented, but he's in full mainstream school. So we've always kind of come at life, I guess, from an adjustments perspective. And my sister-in-law, Molly, is 27 now, and she has Down syndrome. So again, we know what the obstacles are, but equally speaking, we know that when Molly comes into the office for a day, that's the best day of the week, and it massively changes the environment and the dynamic in the office, and just injects a level of energy that you don't get on a normal day in the office when Molly's not there. So we've always tried to find ways of being more inclusive, but as we've kind of gone on our journey and we came across the guys at Standout Socks, so we were really lucky. We met Christian and Ross the boss, when it was just an idea kind of in COVID, and they started kind of doing it from home and selling socks, and that came from Ross not having a job and not being able to get a job. He could always secure some work experience, and obviously was involved in a lot of these schemes where you effectively pay to have the work experience, which is, you know, a little bit contentious in my view. So Christian took matters into his own hands, him and Natalie, Christian's wife, and they've set up the business with Ross, and it's obviously been on Dragon's Den, and it's gone from strength to strength. But you can't be naive in that if you want to set up a fully inclusive workspace, or specifically to give jobs to people who do have additional needs and require adjustments, if you want to be able to utilise people's abilities, then you've got to circumnavigate the additional support that they need. So they came to us for some support with it, and we said, well, we don't know actually, because this is actually, when we looked out and we got in contact with the Down Syndrome Association, who was super helpful, but actually there isn't a blueprint of how do you give someone a contract who has additional learning needs, who potentially can't read that contract. How do you get their consent? How do you deal with power of attorney? If mum and dad want access to their employment files, should they have access to them? What can you and can't you do? And it was super interesting because obviously we're employment law geeks at heart, and we were kind of down the rabbit hole with research. So we've worked with them for the last few years and developed kind of a blueprint of accessible documents and accessible working practices. And then we've kind of gone down the something we call employability, with as one word, with the A as, you know, the capital in the middle, focusing on nobody employs people for their disabilities. If they do, it's the wrong reason. You employ someone with an ability, and you figure out how to get the best out of that ability, and that's in great news, grown arms and legs, because we've come across lots of other clients who know that we've kind of got that blueprint. We've got a large lending business based in Altrincham. The business owner knew of a lad in his community who's actually completely non-verbal and has additional learning disabilities, but equally speaking is brilliant from an administrative perspective, super organised. So again, other admin tasks in the business that can be done by the person with that ability, yes, right, we'll accommodate the rest. Which is great. It's great to be involved with.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It is that. It's because, as you say, you can get volunteer work with people with additional needs probably quite easily, but the employment, they should be entitled to employment and a wage and the rights of everybody else. But, you know, using their abilities and things and giving them some job satisfaction as well. Something that they're good at and they like to do. It's the same for everybody, isn't it? We all want the same thing, so that's really important.
I think it's also the social aspect as well. I remember a few years ago I worked with a young person, and he had a family, and round the dinner table they talked about work, and he struggled with his maths and English, and it was affecting his self-esteem. He did some work experience which led to paid employment. And his mum said the confidence has grown so much. He feels he can contribute so much because he can talk about work himself. But also he had the social aspect. If the workplace were going out, you know, for like a social event, someone's birthday, he got invited along as well. And that is massive. I think really a big part of the workplace, isn't it? And he, you know, felt included.
And I think where it's hard to find good staff. It's really hard to find good staff, regardless of where, you know, what the sector is. And the main issue with that is to find someone who is committed, motivated, loyal to the business. And I think when you create opportunities that offer someone a real opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise get, you get an employee who has all of those core values already in them. You're not going to, you never ever, with any of the opportunities that we've been involved in creating, there's no issues with lateness. There's no issues with sickness and attendance. There's no issues with presenteeism. They're not kind of, you know, sat there killing time. They're there because you really want to be there, which, again, in a restricted workforce at the moment, it's hard. That's gold dust, really.
Do you think, Vicky, you find any difficulty with getting, because you said earlier on that when you were ringing round looking for placements that you got a lot of no's?
Yes.
Why do you think that is? What do you think causes the no's?
I think sometimes it can be fear. I think recently we had a student who wanted to do some catering experience. And although we have got an absolutely brilliant work placement with Espositos, who have been fabulous to us, and it's like yourselves, take lots of students, we also have a lot where employers are going to have students in the kitchen, where they will say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't have them in the kitchen, it's too dangerous.
Right.
So there is, I think, that element of fear, and I think health and safety gets mentioned quite a bit as well.
See, with that, because I'm using my daughter for an example, and yes, she has the additional needs and stuff like that, and I think that's where, I can't say kid, young adults, because she's a young adult, she gets penalised because she's got additional needs. Oh, you can't go in the kitchen. And it's like, well, she can go in a kitchen. She knows, like, what's hot, what's not hot. And I know not everybody's like Alex. And sometimes I think the young adults get penalised because of the additional needs. Well, you won't be able to do this. But what they can't do, they shine somewhere else.
Yeah, I think there's fear, and I think the other challenge genuinely is time. I think there's an overestimation from an employer's perspective of, well, that's going to be a huge drain on resource because they'll have to make someone available to mentor. And I think the other challenge is having managers that are trained and developed and confident enough to feel that they can be responsible for and take someone on and mentor and develop someone. And I don't think that's just unique to people with additional needs. I think that is, you look at apprenticeship programs, they're not widely as used as they should be because there's just the thought that that's going to take that person away from the day job and that's going to affect your bottom line. Whereas actually the opposite is true, because most managers who do mentoring and are involved in initiatives like apprenticeships, training and development are far more fulfilled, far more engaged, get more out of their workforce. But it's that mindset shift. And I think it's, you need to find a way to get a foot in the door with work placements that open everybody's eyes to the possibilities, and then get that training and development and framework in place. So then you can physically go to colleges and other kind of foundations and charities and open the doors and say, this is actually, we would love to receive applicants for these roles.
So with people with additional needs, and you mentioned about the parents and the input that parents have. Maybe with people with additional needs, that input is greater. Do you think, Vicky, like, what involvement do they have when the students are coming to us? Do they have any involvement in where they're coming, or what type?
Yeah, we normally involve parents and carers. We have annual reviews where students will have their, it's called an education, health and care plan. And we look at that each year, and the parents and carers are heavily involved in that. So it will get mentioned, what's a young person's aspirations and dreams, preparing for adulthood is a big part of that. So parents and carers will have an input into it. We also, reach out to parents and carers to say, if you've got any contacts yourself, please send them my way. I'm always desperate for new ideas. So again, we'll try and involve parents and carers that way. I think sometimes with parents and carers, they can have their own anxieties as well, about the workplace, about travelling there as well. I think it can be a very anxious time. I think with a school and our sixth form, they know that they are safe in our building, they know the routines. So sometimes there is that little bit of worry if they're going outside and how well that will fit in. Although I think most of the parents and carers will see the benefits, and we certainly do. When students have come back from their work placements, you can see that they've grown in confidence, and always have lots to say about it. So I think it's a really valuable part of our curriculum.
And do you tie that into your work, Josie, like into your policies and things that you help employers with?
Yeah, so I guess the phase for the college and obviously work placements is that transitional phase, where, as you say, the parents involved in the ECHP, and actually a lot of the time it does come through, mum and dad know so-and-so who's got a business, and they've, knocked on the door and asked if someone can have a placement, which is the best way to get a placement, still, unfortunately. I guess, but on the opposite end of the scale, with kind of what we needed to develop with standout socks, we're dealing with adults. Some of the people coming through and applying for the roles are 30, 35, and that's their first job. But potentially they do still live at home, or mum and dad do still kind of support them with managing most things with their affairs, bank accounts, etc. And what we need to do initially is it's making it part of your onboarding and interview process as to what are the capabilities of that person. Can they have their own bank account? Yes, potentially they probably can. It might be that they need some support with budgeting and money management, and then you look to, is there a social worker engaged? Who else is involved? And try and make that care plan joined up in the workplace as well. But in an ideal world, look to tether that off as everybody gets a little bit more comfortable. And making it clear that, you know, everybody has the right to privacy, and making sure that the person is given the opportunities to make their own decisions. Just because mum and dad have always been asked historically doesn't mean that person actually, once they've got a bit of independence and confidence, won't have a view in relation to actually, well, I don't want to be dropped off at work. I'd actually quite like to get the bus. Right, well, how can we make that happen? And I mean, we do a lot with Warrington, because my son's had a lot of involvement with Warrington Council, and they have brilliant transitional teachers. So he's looking at going to college in Liverpool, wants to do that independently. So that's travelling on a train. Well, he's already done several of the train journeys, mapped, obviously, the walking routes. He'll use his cane. He'll do that on a repetitive basis so that he's got the independence to go and do that from September. And the same thing can be done, you know, using your PIP payments, etc., in the workplace. It's just knowing how to access the support that's available.
I think as well, in the workplace, about adjustments as well, because additional needs goes across a whole spectrum, doesn't it? It can be from a visual impairment, a hearing impairment, to you know, anything really, isn't it? So the adjustments in the workplace could be anything and everything, really. Is the support for employers, like with making those adjustments, knowing what? Because I know Vicky, when we take students, you give us a little bit of background on the students, don't we, and a little bit of a bio sometimes about what they might like and what they don't like. If they don't like, you know, if they really like routine, if they don't like being touched, then, you know, we're not going to go in and with a handshake.
We had a student who didn't like dogs. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah, which again, a slight adjustment, because I take my dog into the office pretty much every day.
Yeah.
He's a feisty dog, so if we've got people coming in, I don't tend to bring him in. But that was making sure that the dog isn't around, even around the building, because there's a lot of dogs there. But with us having that background knowledge, we could make them little adjustments, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Is there any in employment? Is there any services that support that, or is it just down to the manager?
So there isn't, but again, it kind of comes back to your HR practices. So we use occupational health a lot. Everyone assumes that you only see occupational health if you get ill while you're at work or you've had an accident. But a lot of occupational health providers now provide kind of like a pre-employment check, which it should never be used to not give someone a role because something flags. You should look at it from an employment perspective. Effectively, it's a pre-onboarding employment questionnaire that goes through any medical issues that you might have, any adjustments that you might need, anything that you didn't declare as part of your interview because you don't want to be prejudiced against. But at that point, you've got the job, so you're in a safe place where you can make those kind of disclosures about any adjustments that you might need. They cost roughly about £10 per report, and it's a questionnaire, and then someone will look at it from a medical perspective and just say, highlight these things actually are things that you probably need to pay attention to as an employer, or that might need additional consideration. They won't tell you what to do, but they'll signpost it for you. We find and think that that's good practice, full stop, not just for people that have got additional needs. You know, if you're employing someone in a warehouse or who's driving heavy goods vehicles, there's certain things that you need to know about them and that you need them to declare to you for them to be able to work and operate safely. Yeah. And I think if you use those as part of your onboarding process, that then gives you a platform from an HR perspective and a manager perspective to create a space where you sit down and you look at that, and then you discuss it with the other person, you discuss it with the employee. What do you need? I've got a bad back, or my knee locks out. Would a standing desk help for you? Would that make life easier so you can move around a little bit more? And the same adjustments are then the case for, you know, the lad that I mentioned before that's non-verbal. He has a support worker who comes to work with him. Right. But equally speaking, he's probably got to a point now where he doesn't need her because he types everything into his phone and he shows everybody. Everybody else kind of high fives, fist pumps. Everyone's developed their own ways of communicating with him, which is brilliant to see. and it's just making sure that you put a framework in place that was probably a little bit over the top day one, and then you can peel the bits away that you don't need.
Yeah.
You know, because equally speaking, you can end up with an employee whose circumstances change. We unfortunately, you know, we come across people that will be in employment for 4 or 5 years, and then they, you know, develop a life-changing illness, and they need real substantial adaptations. And 1 week they'll have a good week, and the next week it'll be a bad week, and you need to ebb and flow. The main thing is just communicating everything, documenting things so that you have got that evidence trail. You know what you've done and where you've done and what conversations have been had. But yeah, communication. You just need to not be afraid of having the conversation. What do you need? What helps you? What triggers you? They're not conversations to shy away from. I think because probably they are shied away from, that's where most of the problems tend to come from, really.
Yeah.
I think that we link in as well with supported internships, which is fairly new. I think it's only been going probably 4 or 5 years. It might be longer. But they were brought in because it was felt that there's a lot of young adults, I think it's probably aimed at 16 to 25-year-olds, who wanted an apprenticeship but perhaps weren't quite ready for that. Or what we find with apprenticeships is a lot of the employers are asking for GCSEs at grade 4 or above, which, you know, it's quite a few of our students are not going to obtain.
Yeah.
So a supported internship is where the young person has access to a job coach, and they link in with the employer, they link in with the family and the young person themselves. And they do that little bit more support in the workplace. And they might do something called job carving, where they might look at the role and they might be, say, 70% of the job that the young person can do and 30% that they can't. So they'll then adapt it so that, you know, another employee might take more of the role of the tasks that the young person can't do, and the young person will obviously take more of the things that they can. So there's a little bit of adaptation that way. So the supported internships, I think, are a good way forward for young people. And some of the colleges, I think, offer that as well as a progression route. We also, as well, often link in with the disability employment advisors, which I think are based in each job centre. And they often will attend our events or come in and talk to the young people. And then we'll talk about the latest you know, any projects and things like that, things like access to work. I say I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't know all the ins and outs, and things change all the time. So that's why we tend to use the disability employment advisors, who can just give that little bit more information as to what support's available at the time. And then I think for those with more additional needs that have a social worker, then sometimes they can have an assessment and get a direct payment. And that can often pay for a personal assistant who can often help with maybe, you know, the travel training and being there in the first place. So I think there's definitely support out there, but I think quite often it's knowing what's out there as well, isn't it? Because I think it often feels like a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where is that information?
As a parent, you've got to look for all this. Nobody comes and says you can get this support if you and everything. It's like a full circle where you start and you're fighting for everything for your child at the very beginning, all through their education, and then they finish their education and it's college, and then from college it's work, and you've got to everything. Unless it's just me, I feel as though you've got to go looking for it. There's not enough help to say this is what can be done next, or point me in the directions and stuff like that. That's how I feel as a mum.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. The information's not readily available. We've found it with our son. We're quite forthright, you know, we've sort of HR and business owner background, and we don't kind of take no for an answer very easily, but we've still had to kind of push and look for that information. And it, you know, it is worrying because not every child has parents who are able and can access. Equally speaking, you know, that parent might have additional needs, which you quite often find as well, and that's extremely limiting them, because a lot of the information that's available is, you know, Google it, you have to read it. It's, you can't necessarily speak to someone. As you say, there are advisors, but it's not particularly accessible, and they're very you know, sort of underfunded. There's not a lot available. So you do have to reach out.
Yeah.
You do have to fight. But I think that's kind of just parents' instinct anyway, I think, isn't it?
And when they get a work experience, because Alex done hers at a beauty salon, and your heart's in your mouth. Like, are they going to treat her well? Are they going to take the mick out of her? I know it's out, but they're all thoughts. Because you ask our Alex a question and she will honestly tell you the answer if you're going to like it or not. Because it's just true. You've asked her a question. She can't lie.
Everything's black and white, no filter.
Everything's
She just
black and
what
white
she thinks
to
she
Alex.
says, doesn't
If you
she?
say it's raining cats and dogs, she'll think cats and dogs are raining from the sky. It's like you can't. She has no. There's no sarcasm. There's no. She says what it is, and she got on great with her work experience, and I do find myself lucky. That she loved it. She absolutely loved it. But that, I think, a lot of anxiety as well as parents, and I don't know how it is in the workplace. Do parents try and get involved a lot?
I think, again, it depends on the level of needs, and I think it depends how, again, going back to standout socks, the adults there have been out of work and reliant on their parents, or perceivably reliant on their parents for so long. It's such a huge transition. It's a much bigger transition for the parents a lot of the time than it is for, for the people that are being employed, because they're just over the moon to be doing something different and be employed and have that social aspect. And the mum and dad are kind of sat at home going, oh, what are we going to do with all our time now? What's kind of happening? But I think, again, it's just part of that transition of, as long as you know that your child's safe and happy, the rest of it you can kind of come to terms with and figure out yourself. And I think sometimes as parents, I'm guilty of it as well, you stand in the way of what your child is capable of, because it's easier to keep them safe where you can see them than it is for them to face those challenges. And we found with Alfie, my son, instilling that tenacity in him that it's not easy, and you will have to tell people that you have additional needs. You do have to carry your white stick so that people know when you get on the bus that you can't see, and you do need to ask the bus driver to tell you when you get near the stop, because you won't be able to see when you get there. And he's just like, okay, that's fine. Whereas you think that's a terrible conversation that you're having to have, and it's not fair that you're having to have that conversation with your child. But he's not. His vision's been the same since the day he was born. He's like, okay, that's fine. It's completely normal. So I think a lot of it is normalising the things that we think are a barrier and an issue. And actually the rest of the world, a lot of the time, once you create the opportunity or present the problem, just get on with it. It's not insurmountable.
We actually asked, because we have a student at the minute, Ethan, so we actually asked for his voice this week. So he was with us on Tuesday morning, and we were discussing, we were coming on this, so he wanted a shout out. So hi, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan.
Hello, Ethan.
So we actually asked him for his opinion on what his anxiety was before coming. Is there any adjustments that he would like to see workplaces do? Now, he came up with a fantastic thing, didn't he? So he was telling us that his anxiety before coming was, he is very sociable and very chatty. But his not so much worry, but his thoughts before were, what's it going to look like? What's the office going to look like? Who are the people? And as you said earlier, he loves the fact that the sandwich van comes round, and at 11 o'clock he gets a break and a sausage roll and a drink. And he said it would have been great to know that before, because that would have been a nice little break for the day for him. So we came up with an idea, didn't he, with us about, producing something, a brochure, something, a file that we can have some pictures of us, pictures of the office space that we could give to you, so that if we're getting a student in the future, you can show them and say, this is Anne and Steph, this is where you're going to be working, this is your workspace. This is the van that comes at this time, and that would have made things easier for him.
Yeah. And we'd never thought of that before, had we? Until we got
fantastic
Ethan's
idea.
It was. And I think as well, that might be helpful for the parents as well.
Yes.
Because that's a big thing for them. Maybe if they could see where their son or daughter is coming, they probably don't get the chance at any other time. So maybe that's something we're definitely going to do.
We're going to do.
We're going to produce that anyway. So, maybe it would be good for parents to see that. Okay, I think we've covered a lot there about inclusion in the workplace. I think it's been a great discussion.
Yeah, brilliant discussion. Really, really sort of discussion as well. And I've learned some stuff as a mum as well. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. So workplaces are always looking, schools are always looking for placements. So if any of our network can offer anything to any educational facility, any workplace, then obviously get in touch with us and we can make some introductions for you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Josie. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, ladies.
And that's it for this episode. We were 3 Women, 1 Vision. Join us next time.
3 women, 1 vision. And then again.